Okay, it's live.
Oh, it's live. Welcome to Magic Planet at the Hurd Natural Science Museum and Wildlife Sanctuary. My name is Tiffany Cherie. I'm one of the museum educators. And because this particular exhibit is touchscreen, I know a lot of y'all probably wouldn't come here to use it, so we're going to bring it to you in your homes. Now, we have Magic Planet, of course, to teach earth science. Hurd is a natural science museum, but on the weekends and for fun, we like to play with planets because they're round and it's round, and that's really all the logic you need for astronomy. I'm sure a lot of you are also missing the stars at night and seeing Venus in the evening because of all the clouds. So this will be a good way to do that this week. So let's get started. We're gonna start here where we live. I'm sure you might know we live on a planet. It's my favorite planet. What planet is it? Oh, look, all the visitors are saying it. It's Earth. It's Earth.
Earth.
So let's take a blast off of the Earth. How do we get off of the planet? Anybody in here? No, there's nobody here.
Spaceship.
Spaceship! That's right. So we're gonna be astronauts today. You gotta put on your orange flight suit. Pretty sure they take off in an orange suit. So put on your orange suit. Put mine on. I guess you can wear a helmet if you want. People like helmets. Check your oxygen. Very good. And let's count down. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off! Ah! Okay. Let's say bye to the Earth. Goodbye, Earth. And we're gonna see in space our best friend. What is the solar system body that follows the Earth everywhere? That's right, it's the moon. Very good. This is the side of the moon we see at night. And you're going to get to see the other side of the moon, the unseen side that always faces away from us. Now, the moon follows the Earth everywhere it goes, because that's what moons do. They orbit planets and follow them around. Now, I am particularly fond of our moon. It's actually pretty big. And it's so beautiful. All of these dark spots you see, some people call them seas, but they weren't made from water. They were made from lava, so kind of scary seas. And our moon has all of these craters. The only thing that's gonna cover up a crater on the moon is a new crater. Since the moon doesn't have air, it doesn't have an atmosphere, there's no weather to cover the craters. They just stay forever. Ooh, and right there, that is where the first astronauts walked on the moon. And last summer, a fourth grader told me that they left a bag of poop. I looked it up. They did. It's true. They also left a lot of things they didn't need so they can bring back as many moon rocks to study as possible. Now, we're gonna say bye to our moon, right next to the Earth, and let's zoom into the center of the solar system. So what's at the very center of our solar system?
The sun.
That's right, it's super big. It's holding the whole solar system together with its gravity. Ooh, and it's kind of scary here on Magic Planet.
Ooh, it's super fast.
The sun does spin. It doesn't spin that fast though. It spins about once every 25 Earth days. It spins once every 25 Earth days, so it is spinning. And it's not this stormy right now. Right now, our sun is actually in a solar minimum, so it doesn't have storms on its surface right now.
What is a storm?
Well, these solar storms come from magnetic field lines, and it can produce a lot of interesting things. Sometimes we can see sunspots, and those are fun because you can see them in visible light, the light that our eyes see. They also produce flares, which spew material out into space.
What is a sunspot made of?
Oh, a sunspot actually is a little bit more like a whirlpool or vortex. So it's a cooler spot on the sun that's sucking stuff downwards. when you model the sun, it's really fun to use M&Ms for it. Just saying.
Why?
Well, because they're M&Ms
Okay.
and helpful. Okay, so back to the sun. The sunstorms can get very dangerous, though. When the sun is really stormy, it can spew large clouds out into space. So one of the things we always keep track of in astronomy is what's going on in the sun. We often call it space weather, right?
What kind of
Space
stuff is in the
weather.
clouds that it spews out?
Well, most of the sun is actually just hydrogen and helium,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of its clouds are highly energized and large. And at all times, the sun has winds coming from it called stellar winds. They're not like breezy, happy winds, though. They're more ionized particles moving fast through space, but you don't have to worry about those on the Earth. We're going to talk a little bit more when we get to the Earth about how it protects us from the more dangerous aspects of the
Cool.
sun. Yeah, go Earth. All right, right next to the sun is the smallest planet. The smallest planet, it's Mercury. Very good, I know.
So
someone
it's
would
not
have said
Pluto anymore, huh?
it. No, we'll get to Pluto later.
I know, spoilers.
I love to tell people about Pluto. All right, Mercury is the smallest planet. When a lot of adults see it, they think it's the moon on here. And that's because geologically, it's a lot like our moon. The reason it has craters all over its surface is because, like the moon, it doesn't really have an atmosphere. So the only thing that's going to cover up a crater is a new crater. It's just going to stay there. Also, the moon is lost its volcanic activity, or the Mercury, sorry, lost its volcanic activity a long time ago. This is because it has a solid crust that cooled and shrunk. It also has a slow spin. It spins slower than the sun. It spins every about 60 Earth days. A couple of the planets spin pretty slowly, so that's fun. Little Mercury. All right. Mercury, even though it's the closest to the sun, is not the hottest. The hottest comes next. Let's look. The second planet from the sun, Earth's evil twin, starts with a V. It's Venus. Venus is so scary.
Mike Kitts just waved at you.
Really?
Say hi to Mike.
Hi. Someone's watching?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We have 27 viewers.
All right, well, in the last couple of months, if anybody has seen a beautiful, bright star in the southwest sky after sunset, or even thought it was a plane that for some reason wasn't moving, it's Venus. Right now, Venus is getting closer and closer to us in its orbit around the sun. And even though Venus is very beautiful in the sky, I consider it quite frightening in space.
Can I ask why it's changing display settings?
Yes, we cannot see through the clouds of Venus. We have to use types of radar to look at the Venusian surface and to look at the temperatures of the ground on Venus. We have actually sent spacecrafts to Venus to get some not very good pictures of the surface, but it is too hot for the spacecrafts to survive and do much science there. Even though it's about the same size as Earth, and geologically it's a little similar to Earth, its atmosphere is very thick and filled with greenhouse gases that trap heat, and it can even rain acid on Venus.
Sweet.
You mean terrifying. That's why we love to look at it in the night sky, but we don't go there. We don't go to Venus. Now, in the next month, I really recommend, as soon as the clouds clear, you going out to see Venus. It will get brighter into April as it gets closer to us, but it'll also get lower on the horizon. So March is a great time to see it. It's still March, right?
Yes.
Okay, next up is the best planet in the solar system, third rock from the sun. What is it?
No, I'm kidding. Earth.
Earth, that's right. All right, Earth is in what we call the Goldilocks zone of our solar system. So it's not too hot and it's not too cold further out, but it's just the right temperature for its H2O, its water, to be liquid. And scientists currently believe that liquid water is really the only requirement for life. The only requirement for life. Now, the liquid water isn't the only thing I like about the Earth and all of the life that evolved on it. The Earth is also a giant magnet. Because of the movement of metals inside the Earth's core, deep down, the Earth is a huge magnet. And this magnet and the magnetic fields around it protect us from the sun.
Honora Duncan says, "Hi, Earth."
Hi. Earth says hi. Or I guess you just have to like.
There we go. We're good.
We're good?
Yes.
Yay! Yay, Earth! Earth is the first of the inner planets to have a moon, and it has a great moon. Yay, moon. Our moon's actually pretty big for moons. It's almost as big as Mercury. Mercury's just a little bit bigger than our moon. All right, let's see. I guess we should just move on to Mars. We're supposed to be moving through the solar system. We can't.
Okay, we're live again.
Live again. Let's go to the fourth planet. It's little, not that little.
Well, you
It's
did.
red.
Before you keep going, though, you addressed when you're talking about the sun, how the Earth protects us from the sun,
Yes.
but you didn't connect those two subjects.
All right.
Are you going to
so
go back to that,
I'm
or
going to do that right now.
okay?
Let's do that right now. Now, the sun's stellar winds are very helpful for the solar system. They've created a huge bubble. That's why the planets aren't moving through gases and dust and stuff. The huge bubble around the solar system is called the heliosphere. But the stellar winds are also dangerous. They can radiate the surface of planets. A lot of the sun's influence is what they think got rid of the water on Mars, and we don't want that to happen on Earth. So our magnetic field actually protects us from a lot of the particles, energized particles moving through space, and it funnels those particles towards the poles. And as they spin around, the sun particles spin around the magnetic field lines of Earth, they give off these beautiful light shows, which they call
Aurora Borealis.
That's right, the aurora. Exactly, the auroras, which are close to the magnetic poles of the Earth. That's why you have to go really far north or really far south to see them. And I've never seen them, but I hear they're nice, so that's nice. And the physics is cool. Go Earth. All right, next up, planet. For some reason, people want to go to. It's red. What is it? It's Mars. Good. Mars is a cool little planet. They say it has 2 moons, but I feel like stealing asteroids out of the asteroid belt shouldn't count as moons. They're so small. But Mars does have a lot of interesting features. You can see it's got some very large canyons and mountains. They're much bigger than they would be on Earth because the Martian surface doesn't move. It's solid. It has a solid crust. Whereas Earth's crust is smaller and can move around on the surface, call that tectonic movement. Mars does not have that. So it actually has the largest mountain in the solar system. It's a volcano, Olympus Mons. It doesn't have any volcanic activity anymore though. And they think that's also because of the solid, very thick crust cooling and shrinking. People do point out that Mars does have ice, H2O ice. But there's not a lot of evidence of it melting. It usually, if the polar caps warm up, will sublimate, go straight from ice to water vapor, which is not very helpful if someone wants to try and live there. And there is a lot of evidence Mars used to have water, and they think it might have lost the water on its surface when it lost its magnetic field a long time ago. So people are planning to go to Mars. If you're young, then you'll probably be an adult when those missions finally happen. You could go to Mars. I'm going to stay here on Earth. Earth is great. But Mars is quite interesting. And it's really close to the asteroid belt, so that would be fun to be over by the asteroids, right?
So you can steal more asteroids.
Yeah, we could help Mars steal more asteroids. Maybe one day it could have a real moon like ours. I'm just kidding. There's no rules about moons. be whatever it wants. All right, now, Mars, Earth, Venus, and Mercury are the first 4 planets in the solar system. They're small and they're rocky. That means they have crust, they have something solid to stand on. After Mars, there's a gap in space with a bunch of lumpy rocks. Oh, I was gonna ask what they were called, but we already talked about them. They're called asteroids. There's also a dwarf planet in there. For some reason, 5-year-olds always know this, named Ceres. Fun fact, Ceres was kicked out of the list of planets in 1830. That was 100 years before we found Pluto.
And why did they do that?
Because of all the asteroids they found around it. Yeah, we'll get there in my Pluto rant.
Okay.
Look forward to that. Okay, so after the asteroid belt, beyond Mars, we get to the really big planets. These are the gas giants. Let's look at the first and the biggest. Starts with a J, rhymes with Schmoopiter. It's Jupiter. Yes, it's Jupiter. Jupiter is our largest planet. It's also by far our heaviest planet. It is very heavy. I've even heard that it can very slightly affect the position of the sun. Meaning the sun is very slightly shifted towards where Jupiter is in its orbit.
And by heavy you mean mass or?
Yes. So Jupiter is not only bigger than the next biggest, it's about 3 times heavier. One fun thing about Jupiter is that it has not only these beautiful bands on it, it has a storm, an old storm. We call it the Great Red Spot.
Whoops, lost my balance.
Oh.
And it's gone.
And it's gone.
It'll come back.
Now, that storm has been there since before the telescopes that first saw it, which means we don't know how old it is. And at times, it's big enough for about 3 Earths to fit inside of it, just the storm itself. That's right, meaning you could probably
there it
get
goes again.
a couple hundred inside of Jupiter.
So this is the storm right here.
Yes, that is the Great Red Spot. In fact, if you have a small telescope, when Jupiter's at a good spot to see it, which means when we're on the same side of the solar system, so you've got like the sun and Earth and Jupiter in a line, that's a great time for even a small telescope to be able to see the red spot. But when Jupiter's like on the other side of the solar system, like you need a really big telescope. Bigger than mine, anyway. All right, now at current count, Jupiter has 79 moons. There's only probably 4 of those that are really famous. Can you see the screen up there? I'm gonna show y'all some of the famous moons of Jupiter. Here's the biggest, Ganymede. This one is bigger than Mercury. That's right, we all make fun of Mercury. Next up is Callisto. Here comes one of my favorites, Europa.
Is it also on that screen?
It is also on the screen.
Hold on.
Is this a better screen?
Yes, because it's lower.
Oh,
There we go.
there we go, Europa. Europa is covered in ice, and they found geysers of water shooting through the ice, which means under the icy surface are areas of liquid water. And then some kids' favorite moon is Io. Io is covered in active volcanoes. It is the most active of all of the volcanic bodies in the solar system, just spewing a ton of material out. All right, now, these 4 moons are the ones that were discovered, 1, 2, 3, 4, in I think early 1610 by Galileo. And they got him in a lot of trouble because everything in the universe was supposed to go around the Earth. There were not supposed to be things going around Jupiter. So that was pretty exciting. Yay, Galileo! Yay, Jupiter! All right, can we look at Saturn? It's gonna look wrong to y'all on Facebook Live. Next up is Saturn. Oh no! What's missing around Saturn?
Rings.
That's right, I don't know how to put them on a sphere. Let's just pretend these bars are rings. All right, Saturn is the 2nd biggest planet in the solar system, and it is famous for its rings. Now, the other gas giants do have rings. Jupiter's rings are made of dust, and you have to have like a radio telescope to see them. But Saturn's rings are so beautiful. Even a small telescope like mine will show Saturn slightly elongated in the middle, so you can tell there are rings. Also, big news about Saturn. It, at current count, has 82 moons, which means for the first time ever, its count of moons is higher than Jupiter's count of moons. Go Saturn!
No way.
You're winning the moon race. Now, there aren't really a lot of rules about what makes a moon, and I kind of feel like maybe as these numbers get bigger, scientists might be more strict about what can be a moon. But for now, Saturn's winning. Also, rings. Yay! And I wish I could show you, but there's a really strangely shaped storm at the top of Saturn, sort of hexagon shaped. So Saturn does have a lot of interesting internal features.
Everybody likes hexagonal storms.
Yes, everybody likes hexagonal storms. I'm sure you all on Facebook like hexagonal storms too. Anyway, moving on. Let's go look at the planet that everybody makes fun of.
Which one?
It's Uranus. Let's talk about why Uranus is so funny. If you can see here on the screen, Uranus rotates on its side. Yes, that's right. That's why we make fun of it, not because of what you were thinking. Another fun fact about Uranus
So
is
it's kind of like kids rolling down grass on a hill.
yes, it's like constantly rolling on a hill around in circles around the sun.
Cool.
Slow circles, though. As you get further out in the solar system, these orbits get much longer. So Mercury here would have the fastest orbit around the sun, or revolution is what I should say. But out here at Uranus, the revolution is about 84 Earth years. So it's going much, much slower because it's further out. Another thing I just read about Uranus is that its upper atmosphere smells like rotten eggs because of its chemical composition. So just another thing that Uranus does not have going for it. It rotates on its side, and it's stinky, and it has a funny name too, so that's nice.
But we won't judge it.
Oh, are we not judging planets?
We can if you want to.
I feel like since Earth is so awesome, maybe we can judge the other planets a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. All right, now let's look at the very last planet in the solar system, Neptune. Oh, Neptune's so cool. Can y'all see it on the globe? Let's get Neptune rotating.
It just looks blue.
Now, Neptune, I've never seen it, even though you can see it with a telescope. I've never seen it. It has, for a long time, a visible storm on its surface, and they've measured these storm speeds on Neptune as being the fastest wind speeds in the solar system. So Neptune is very cold and apparently very, very windy. And I'm going to be honest, that's all I know about Neptune. So, Neptune!
Yay, Neptune!
Now, these last two, Neptune and Uranus, they cannot be seen with your eyes at night. The other planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, they look like stars to us at night. Sometimes very, very bright. Right now, Venus practically looks like an airplane. It's so bright. In this past summer, in June and July, Jupiter and Saturn looked very, very bright. And right now, 4 of them are in the early morning sky. So some of you, when the time changed, if you started driving to work before sunrise, you would have seen 4 planets in the morning sky. Now, the last ones, Uranus and Neptune, you will need a telescope for. Apparently a better telescope than mine. I point it right where they're supposed to be, they're not there. But I highly recommend, if you do have a chance to look through telescopes, trying to see them. It'll be easiest when we're in line with them. So, you know, sun, earth, whatever you want to look at in a straight line, it's the best time to see it. All right. Now,
What way is that?
but just because it's closer in space and brighter. The solar system's pretty big, so when stuff is like far away from us in the solar system, like not on the same side, it's significantly further away. So anyway, now, is Neptune the last thing in the solar system? No, there's a ton of stuff past Neptune. We've got another belt. People call it the Kuiper Belt, or some people call it the Trans-Neptunian region because it's so huge. filled with a ton of things, like dwarf planets and more asteroids and short-range comets. Way far out at the edge of the sun's gravitational influence is the Oort cloud, and I think that's where the long-range comets come from. Zoom in from the outer solar system and loop close to the sun and head back out. So let's talk about probably the most famous object beyond Neptune.
What's that?
It has a cute name. That is not it. That looks like a disco ball.
Woo, disco!
It does look a little better on the screen. It's Pluto. Do I have time to talk about Pluto?
Certainly.
Great. So, the story of Pluto starts in 1801 when scientists discovered a new planet between Mars and Jupiter. They called it, for some reason 5-year-olds know, I don't know why, Ceres. They called it Ceres. And they were so excited to find a new planet between Mars and Jupiter, and they started to study its orbit, and they found it going around with other things, some lumpy rocks. They called them asteroids. They appeared to be going all together, sharing an orbit around the sun. And the asteroid belt came into being, the asteroid belt. So in 1830, Ceres sort of got kicked out. And for a long time, we just called it an asteroid. It was big and it was spherical, but people just called it an asteroid. 100 years later, a scientist discovered Pluto. And there were actually a lot of scientists at the time who said that we shouldn't call it a planet because we hadn't studied its orbit. We didn't know what was sharing space with it. Remember Ceres? But astronomy at that time needed money. And so they declared a new planet and got everybody really excited about astronomy. And they did actually get a lot of necessary funding. And as we studied Pluto's orbit, we realized not only does it orbit a little strangely, it also orbits with other objects. There are other things out there with Pluto. I think it was the early 2000s that we found something going around with Pluto that's actually bigger, Eris. And so in 2006, they had to decide if we keep Pluto as a planet, the other things like Pluto get to stay too. And so Pluto got kicked out. We have, I think, 5 dwarf planets now. That's the new category they created for them. And that number will continue to go up. It's still there, though. We still love it. Go Pluto. In 2015, a spacecraft flew past it to take some wonderful pictures, new horizons. You can't put them on the globe, though. They're not like a 3D all-around picture. So that's why it looks like a disco ball.
Cool.
Okay. All right, so...
I was just reading the comments.
Oh, okay.
Kimberly said Eva might like this for her science unit.
Awesome. Hi, Eva. All right, so that is the major solar system bodies. Let's go back to the best one. Don't say Jupiter, because it's Earth. There we go. Now, even though we love to study and learn about these solar system bodies, and it is really important to know their history so we can understand our history. Oh, there are kids
Just
here.
a second.
There's kids making all this noise. I did not expect to hear people. That was very surprising. Okay. Even though it's important to understand our solar system's history, to keep track of what's going on in it, because it can be a danger to us, it can tell us about our own history. We keep extra careful track of what's going on with the sun, because it does affect solar system weather. Earth is, for now, the only place we've found that humans can live. It's the only place we've found with current evidence of life, and for that reason, we absolutely need to protect it.
So what elements do we need to live?
Well, we need more than just liquid water. There are some extremophiles on Earth who would survive quite well in very hot planets or solar system bodies with liquid water, or very, very cold solar system bodies with liquid water. But what we need is a planet with plant life, with microbial life. Humans need oxygen. humans need the atmosphere that we evolved underneath, so we can't even be on a planet with too much gravity or too much atmosphere. Earth is the best. Go Earth. Now, I do encourage you, as soon as the clouds clear, and I'm so sorry that hasn't happened in a while, to go outside at night to see Venus in the southwest sky after sunset. It's super bright. If you get up early before sunrise, go see some planets in the morning. And also, the stars are just really nice right now. Orion's still in the sky, and he's super awesome because he actually looks like a guy.
How do you find him?
If you go outside when it gets dark and look up, there's a thing that looks like a guy overhead. He really is super identifiable. He's got a belt and like 2 shoulders, but one of them is more of an armpit and it's red.
Just asking for the people at home.
Yeah. Anyway, one of the reasons the winter stars are so pretty is not just because the atmosphere is cooler, it's also because they just happen to be brighter and closer. They just look nice.
And guys, I forgot to mention, if you have questions, you can post those in the comment section and I'll make her answer them.
Yeah, anyway, thanks so much. I can't think of anything else to say.
Well, let's go back over the order of the planets on the screen.
Oh, that sounds fun.
I think people will want to see that.
All right, so you will notice that these planets are evenly spaced and all close to the same size on our screen. That is not true in outer space. The first 4 planets are small and very close to the sun. The sun is quite large. You could fit more than 1 million Earths into it. And then these last 4 planets are spaced out and also quite large. You could get a couple hundred Earths into Jupiter itself. So take that into consideration. You have the sun. It is a star. Its gravity holds the whole solar system together. And its creation did create the planets. They started in a big disk of debris around the sun. Sorry, we don't need to get into that. Sorry. And then you have the 4 inner planets, the rocky planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. They're small. They have solid ground, which is awesome for those of us with legs. After Mars, you have the asteroid belt, and that's where the first dwarf planet was discovered, Ceres, though we did not call it a dwarf planet for a long time. And then you get the big planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. These, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, can be seen at night with our eyes, making them very fun to keep track of with kids. It's nice to look up in the sky and see something that looks like a star and be like, nope, that's not a star, that's Jupiter, or that's Venus. These 2 were discovered with telescopes. And then beyond it, you've got a lot of interesting things that we're learning more and more about every year. So my recommendation is really just to get outside at night. I used to be too snobby for this, but I recommend the apps now, which will tell you what you're looking at. Also fun for bigger kids is using the real atlases and the planispheres. But don't feel guilty if you have to use an app. We all do now. Anything else?
Anybody have any questions? All right, well, thanks to everyone that's joined us. We're going to keep trying to provide enjoyable content as things keep going, and we appreciate your support. Please remember that we're a nonprofit organization, and we need help from everybody like you guys to keep going, to continue to be able to do these sorts of programs. So please think of us at this time, along with all the small businesses and everybody else affected by this situation. We thank you so much for joining us today. I hope the kids especially enjoyed this, and thanks so much to Tiffany Cherie for her knowledge. And if you have any further questions after this video, feel free to post them in the comment section. We can always do